You are listening to 600 Second Saga. Today's feature is Remediation by Mariah Avix, a dangerous metal story. I held the small cube in the gloved palm of my hand, an entire, personalized bioprinter, designed to work with the organics inside the body. It was a miracle of modern medicine. "Oh, stop admiring your own work and help me." I looked up to see Jen roll her eyes at me. I grinned. "But it is so pretty." I laughed and set it on the tray. "You are not making me feel comfortable about this procedure." Lucas shifted on the operating table. It was a table designed for large animals, since we were taking over a vet clinic for the evening. "We are not here to make you feel comfortable, only to fix you." Jen grabbed several scalpels and spun them in her fingers. Luca looked terrified. Jen and I were having a little too much fun watching the former soldier and mercenary struggle, but only a little. I put my hands on his shoulders and grinned. "Oh, relax. She was able to connect my brain implant. I'm sure she could do this in her sleep. You'll be fine, right?" I looked up at Jen, prompting her to reassure him. She just gave a malicious grin. I strapped his arm down and gave him a local anesthetic. He'd opted for the local. I hadn't helped Jen with surgery in months. Everything I'd worked on recently were my own implants, and I couldn't very well help my own brain surgery. "Hey, how have you stored things in this in the past?" Jen held the scalpel above his arm. Usually hollow bones were for transporting highly illegal things, and often for people who were considered disposable. Lucas' old company surely felt that way about him. Store things?" Lucas' eyes were locked on the scalpel. "Why did they tell you they gave you hollow bones?" I frowned. "They didn't tell me they were hollow. Just these were the implants I needed to make me strong enough for the work. When you told me they were hollow, I was a little focused on the whole not enough bone marrow going to get cancer thing. Watch it." Lucas sounded a little frantic. I watched Jen tap the scalpel on his arm. "It is hollow." I switched my vision input and scrolled through different wavelengths, different inputs. He was full of implants, and both bones of his forearm had been replaced by hollow metal versions. Stronger, less likely to break, but usually for transporting things. "Guess we'll find out." Jen cut in despite Lucas sputtering. She was very practiced and soon had exposed the gleaming, bloody metal. A few quick motions and she looked up at me and wiggled her eyebrows. "I think it's your turn. You wanted to learn how to do this, right?" Lucas started to talk again, but we both glared at him. "No seams?" I leaned over and reached in, running my fingers over the smooth metal. That wasn't right. "Get me as much space as you can. I'll get the welding torch." When I got back with the very small torch and a handful of other tools, Lucas sighed. "I thought you were going to cut it open." "I am." I laid my tools out on the table and looked at what Jen had laid out for me. I wasn't great with the human bits, but I was great with the metal. I cut into it and Lucas started to talk, panicked. "Quiet, please. Don't make me turn off my audio. I'm just going to cut your bone open and put a little valve in so it can pass things in and out, and then put in your personal bone marrow machine." I glanced at him while cutting a long segment. "Did I tell you about the other thing it does?" "Other thing?" I could tell his whole body was tense. Jen laughed. "Yep, it can also produce other chemical compounds. You can produce painkillers, hallucinogens. You'll even be good if you ever need blood thinners. See, I'm not a monster." I peeled back a segment of the bone. I cleaned the segment and started to work quickly to install the edges that it would need, creating a semi-permeable valve attachment. I know you aren't a monster. Thank you. Luca's voice was soft and warm. I looked up, surprised. Jen had stepped out of the room. Luca looked tired. About a half hour. Jen went to get fresh gloves so she can put the box in for you clean. I hadn't noticed, but that was pretty normal for me. I smiled at Luca and tested the fit. It was perfect. We are all monsters a little. Why are you never scared when Jen has you under the blade? She's terrifying with a scalpel. He was whispering. Because it's Jen. She's the best. She's better than the best. If she can't do it, it can't be done. I grabbed the tools to clean out the inside of the hollow bone. Jen came back in with clean gloves and placed the beautiful metal box inside the bone. It immediately started to expand to fill the space. I rested the free segment and watched it slowly move into place. I tapped it and pried at it. It didn't move. I tested for permeability. It was perfect. A notification popped up in my internal interface. Luca's bone marrow online. Production beginning. I forwarded the message to Luca and heard his phone buzz. We are live and producing bone marrow and... I adjusted a few things on my interface with my third hand. Painkillers. Jen bumped her shoulder into mine. Let's close this up and go out dancing. It's still early. Luca caught my eyes. If you turn up the painkillers high enough, I'll go with. Deal. I shifted the painkillers and we had Luca stitched up and cleaned up in no time. Jen peeled off her scrubs and dumped them in the trash and was already in clubwear. She shrugged. I wanted to be ready to celebrate. This was Remediation, a dangerous metal story by Mariah Avix. Dangerous Metal is a cyberpunk thriller now available on Amazon, iBooks, Audible, and more. Ava is happy to get her life back to normal, or as normal as it can for a woman who had half her brain replaced by a computer implant of her own making. Until Ernie, the ex who put a hole in her skull, shows up for dinner with her parents. Music is provided by Mads. Learn more about 600 Second Saga, our authors, how to submit your flash fiction, and how to support the podcast in the show notes. This has been Mariah Avix and 600 Second Saga.